Hey everybody, we're back, Pit Vipers and all. I guess we're going to keep rolling here. We did a previous episode on, the death of good old regular smut and the advent of the digital smut age. Today, I guess we're going to talk about, with all that digital access, not necessarily, we'll get off the smut topic, just digital access to information, the social media and all that. I've talked about social media before, but the youth, I'm of an age that my parents are baby boomers. I'm not going to get into the fact that, they certainly looked out for themselves they never really looked long term in terms of what decisions they made as a society, especially in the West, for future generations, the baby boomers. You have the Gen X who are just, oh God, I'm very akin to them. They are very bitter people, generally angry, and really just almost incurably angry. And we move on to my generation. I'm very much an elder millennial. I think I'm 2 years out from being a Gen X officially. Not the greatest generation. My generation, especially the younger half of it. It's been talked about a million times. We're the generation that grew up without computers for our childhoods, but in our teenage years, computers were becoming a thing. Internet was becoming a thing. I was, 16, 17, maybe 18 when Napster came out, probably 17, 18. When Napster came out and file sharing and, downloading movies and all that stuff. I think we were the first generation to have a somewhat glancing blow from social media, because when Facebook kind of came of age, I was well into my 20s. So I was probably more fully formed than others. So it didn't have such an influence on me, and all the other apps came out I was already working by the time, Instagram became a thing, Twitter became a thing. I was already out in the world at that point. I wasn't living a student life with access to all this information and social media. But certainly, the younger generations, what are they calling them? Gen Z, Gen Alpha. I can say that it can be a challenge to deal with these kids, It can be a real challenge. There's a presumptive attitude, a certain arrogance to them that isn't necessarily merited. And there's definitely, more than before, a lack of patience to pay your dues, Now, there's a caveat to that. It isn't fair to say that Gen Z and Gen Alpha don't have legitimate grievances against all the other generations that went before, as all generations do, going back, whatever human history is. But there is one, I would say, something I can very much see, because as a millennial, as Gen Xers as well, we would have felt that pinch as well, and that is that the cost of living has gone up so much more, and there is so much less understanding from older generations about that, that I think sometimes older generations misinterpret a sense of entitlement from younger generations when it's really, I need a living wage or I need enough money to survive, you're sitting on all the money and you're not trickling it back down. I think that's legitimate. But there is also, it's not just on, I'm speaking a lot at the moment on kind of earning capacity and how the younger generations don't seem to want to work at an entry-level salary for very long. And that's with the understanding that the entry-level salary be respectful enough for them to live and move forward with their lives. There's also a lack of patience for doing the dirty work. I think that exists much more in North America and maybe Europe, Western Europe, than other places in the world where still there's a willingness to do what needs to be done. But this kind of attitude of, if you walk into a place and you're working, you're expecting to immediately not be doing the entry-level stuff. And in my experience, when you don't do that dirty work, when you don't get your hands dirty to a certain degree, you'll never really understand fully what work is, no matter what the field is, whether it's working in a restaurant, being a dish pig at a restaurant, to being, sweeping a pair at a hair salon, to slinging coffee at a Tim Hortons or flipping burgers at a McDonald's. Those are valuable experiences. Not because they pay well, because they teach you how to work. And work in something that can be tiresome, tedious, largely unrecognized. Because there's this, it's true that these most recent generations, probably starting with mine, we got participation trophies for showing up. But I do remember when I was slinging coffee at Tim Hortons as a teenager, I wasn't getting thanked for every coffee I made and given a high five for, putting out a tray of donuts. It was work. I understood the arrangement. I remember having it very distinctly in my mind that I am here, I have to do these things, and at the end, after 2 weeks, I will get some money for it. That is the gratitude, right? That's the thanks. That's, you have agreed to work here and do things that need to be done, and in return, we will compensate you for that, your time and your work. And I think that's less understood now. You go to a lot of places, and again, this whole tipping thing, I get it from an earning standpoint. These kids make nothing. What I don't agree with is when restaurants make you add the tip on, and I think this should be abolished, add the tip on your card balance and then they distribute that, because I don't think restaurants can be trusted to be fair in the distribution. And a tip, traditionally, I'm not tipping the restaurant, and I'm tipping the service, right? It should be directly to the employee. Now, the argument is, especially in restaurants, that if you don't do that, the chef never gets a tip, the line cook, the dishwasher never gets a tip, the busboy. I don't know, maybe that should be part of, working hard and earning it, right? There's a lot of value to going into the world, working hard, and for a little while, not getting an enormous amount of recognition for it. It's called paying your dues. And what it teaches you, first of all, is the understanding that the world is not going to be your friend and give you a trophy for showing up. So it gives you a bit more level-headedness and humility. Second, it teaches you that hard work can be its own reward. It certainly taught me that you can be in a difficult situation and work your own way out of it, and that you're not going to get thanked that's probably the same thing I said before, but not thanked every single time. And that work is work. One of the things I also don't necessarily completely agree with is like everybody at work needs to be friends and hang out socially. I don't know what LinkedIn guru ding dong TED Talk fool decided that we needed to mix that much psychology into employee management school, that we need to now do corporate bonding events. Classically, you had a Christmas party, and if a guy retired, you gave him a gold watch, you shook his hand and had a drink. Other than that, in the world, people went to work and they went home. Nowadays, not only are we always connected to work through our phones, through emails, through Slack, through WhatsApp, through whatever apps you're using, through whatever thing you're always online, but now there's more and more expectation that you participate in these corporate events that are not to accomplish a work production goal. It's supposedly to accomplish team building, which supposedly builds synergy and efficiency. And I don't know. There's all these studies that say it works. I'm going to be a conspiracy theorist here and say that's all a bunch of horse crap. Because I don't know. I'm much more of the belief that we're at work to work. Let's accomplish something. And that's something I think the younger generation brought in. It's not all about feelings. So yeah. It's something, the kids, and I know I have friends that have to deal with I think my friend gave me an example. He was dealing with a client in their 20s who, after scheduling an appointment for service, canceled because he had a cold. It wasn't had a cold. Wasn't feeling great. Meanwhile, a baby boomer came in who was in way worse shape, but made the appointment and showed up. I think that's another part of it. Is this assumption that, you can just walk around and because you got a participation trophy for everything, you don't have to do what you say you're going to do. There's a lack of integrity. We certainly don't have the best examples in the modern world. Gone is the statesman, gone is the great scientist, gone is the great leader of industry. They've been replaced by liars and dilettantes. However, I think the younger generation needs to realize that you can't scream and yell till you get what you want, although all the generations kind of need to realize that. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And stop going on Instagram and TikTok and crying when somebody doesn't give a crap about your feelings because they don't know you and they don't care and they've got their own stuff to worry about. You're not triggered. You're soft. Grow a pair. If that means therapy is involved to deal with past hurts, do it. If that means that you need to communicate how you feel to a friend or a family member or a trusted advisor, do it. But accept the fact that your emotions, no matter what caused them, your emotions are your responsibility, nobody else's. Your reactions are your responsibility, nobody else's. So maybe don't blame the world when the world just keeps doing what it does, and it's not fair and it's not nice. You know, when I lose my temper in a traffic jam or something, and it happens to the best of us, and I'm certainly not the best of us, I always turn around and think to myself, I really could have held it together a little better there. That wasn't the other person's fault. They may have done something incorrect when they were driving, but me flipping my lid, that's on me. It's on nobody else. I don't know. I know we're in a very divisive time, but I don't know why we're kowtowing to every unhealed hurt in the world. We'll never get anywhere by doing this. The problem with trying to accommodate everybody's trauma and pain is that it's a backwards looking philosophy. It looks backwards at what happened and not forwards at what could be. We'll never get anywhere as a society if we keep doing this. It's silly. It's a waste of time. I think that's it. That was a bit rambly, but you get the picture.